Today, our Pokemon adventure starts out with a man in khakis and a leather hat about to board a not so flight worthy airplane. He reads the side of the airplane, screaming Skarmory. He thinks to himself, yeah, that's fitting. This is a screaming metal death trap if I've ever seen one. But he still boards into it. Mac here is a ruin maniac. See, the last 3 years of his life he spent in the ruins of Alf, studying and learning about the unknown. Mac studied the ruins of Alf, their glyphs and the language that the unknown spelled out. Honestly, the unknown became slightly annoying. That's why Mac befriended a Sneasel, just to have that dark type to help clear out the way to read the glyphs on the wall. And one day he fell into a hidden chamber. And in that hidden chamber, he saw a carved glyph in words that he could read calling the Alpha Point. His studies has led him to this day, where he's going to go out into the jungles of an unexplored southern region looking for the Alpha Point, the genesis point of all Pokemon creation. But as for him, he's currently sitting in about a two-seated airplane that doesn't look like it's going to fly. An old man walks in with a crazy eye. Him with his Chatot that seems to be very confused at being a Skarmory. And his living compass, a nose pass that always tells him which way to go, as he says. They board the plane, and surprising to everyone, it gets off the ground. About 2 hours later, they're over the vast unexplored Pokemon jungle of a undisclosed southern region. The ruined maniac looks through the window, looking. Could that be it? Looking for a clearing where he can find these ruins of the Alpha Point. Then, suddenly, the cabin shakes. A bolt of lightning comes out of the air. Instruments go haywire. Alarms go off. Then silence. Matt came to in the shattered shell of the cockpit of the airplane. He seemed to be fine. The old pilot seemed to be fine as well, along with his Pokemon. That was surprising, he thought. I wonder what could have caused the weather to have shifted so suddenly. He brushed himself off and noticed that the airplane is now lodged in a tree, approximately about 20 feet above the ground. He thinks, 2 stories? I can always use my handy escape rope to get down from there. I always kept an escape rope, he thought. Ever since the ruins of Alf, it's just handy to get away from so many circumstances. He grabbed his explorer's bag and told the old pilot to just sit there and he would come back for him. The pilot asked, how are you going to come back for me? How are we going to get out of here? It's going to be a day's track to get out of the jungle. That's when Mac waved a little disc in front of him. He said, TM30, teleport. If what I'm looking for is out there, I'll have no trouble using this. Count on that. I'll be back for you. I'm going to leave my food provisions with you, okay? I can get some food myself. Mac proceeded to tie up his rope and drop down to the forest floor below. With a good swift yank, his knot unlatched itself and fell back in his hand. Says, my trusty escape rope. Never leave home without it. That's when he reached into his pocket and grabbed himself a Pokeball. He says, come out, my old friend. And out popped a Sneasel. A Sneasel he caught just to deal with those pesky unknowns. It's always useful to have a dark type at hand. He said, hey buddy, you going to help me spy out the land? Sneasel nodded with a mischievous look. Always the trickster. Mac and Sneasel found themselves on an old wooden bridge, spanning across a chasm. He wondered, who could have possibly made this? Is there natives out there? Should he be watching out for natives? And this is when some trouble started to brew. Bushes began to rattle, and out popped 3 Mankeys. He had a feeling that he may have stepped into someone's territory. He said, Sneasel, look alive. one of the Mankeys began to charge. Sneasel jumped onto the rope handles of the bridge and ran up at it. Sneasel delivered a devastating bite onto the fighting-type Pokemon. The Mankey flinched. A second Mankey came up at Sneasel, but with a quick sucker punch, the second one went down too, and then Sneasel just gave a mean glare at the third. Flinched and didn't know what to do, and all three of them began to flee. Nicely done, Sneasel, Max said. After following the trail down the mountainside, they found themselves at the bank of a mighty river. There was also a shallow cave entrance in the rock side next to the river. Matt thought this was great, absolutely perfect. He could set up camp, start a fire, and fish up some food for him and his Pokemon friends. And that is where I kind of want to end the story for now. So leave in the comments what kind of supplies Mac actually forages in the jungle, like berries, or maybe you find something interesting, maybe a Pokeball or something. Go ahead and leave that in the comments. I would also like you to vote in the comments about what starter Pokemon from Gen 1 does Mac have, because this will play into the next episode. So go ahead and leave those in the comments, and we'll see you in the next episode of Poké Stories Season 1 Alpha Point.